World War II, the deadliest conflict in human history, raged from 1939 to 1945. It was a war that saw unprecedented levels of destruction and loss of life, affecting nearly every corner of the globe. It engulfed nations across the globe, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. Cities were reduced to rubble, and entire communities were uprooted and displaced. From the bustling cities of Europe to the remote islands of the Pacific, millions perished in this titanic struggle for freedom and survival. The war was fought on multiple fronts, with battles raging in the air, on land and at sea. The war's impact extended far beyond the battlefield, shaping the geopolitical landscape for generations to come. The aftermath saw the emergence of new superpowers and the beginning of the Cold War, which would dominate global politics for the next several decades. The seeds of the conflict were sown in the aftermath of World War I. The harsh terms of the Treaty of Versailles left many nations, particularly Germany, feeling humiliated and resentful. The Treaty of Versailles, designed to ensure peace, instead bred resentment and instability. Economic hardships and political turmoil created a breeding ground for radical ideologies. Germany, burdened by crippling reparations and territorial losses, became fertile ground for extremist ideologies. The economic depression of the 1930s further exacerbated the situation, leading to widespread poverty and unemployment. The rise of Adolf Hitler and his Nazi Party, fueled by nationalist fervor and a thirst for revenge, plunged the world into darkness once more. Hitler's aggressive expansionist policies and the failure of appeasement led to the outbreak of a conflict that would change the course of history forever. The Battle of Britain, fought in the skies over England in the summer and autumn of 1940, was a pivotal moment in World War II. This battle was not just a clash of military might, but a test of endurance and resilience for the British people. Germany's Luftwaffe, seeking to cripple the Royal Air Force and pave the way for a land invasion, launched a relentless aerial assault. The German strategy was to gain air superiority by destroying the RAF's ability to defend the skies over Britain. Day after day, waves of German bombers and fighters targeted British airfields, factories and cities. The Luftwaffe aimed to break the spirit of the British people and force the government to surrender. The RAF, though outnumbered, fought back with tenacity and skill. Young pilots from Britain and the Commonwealth, some barely out of their teens, took to the skies in defense of their homeland. The iconic Spitfire and Hurricane fighters, aided by an integrated air defense system, inflicted heavy losses on the Luftwaffe. The British radar network played a crucial role in detecting incoming raids and directing RAF fighters to intercept them. The Battle of Britain marked Germany's first major defeat in the war and shattered Hitler's aura of invincibility. It was a turning point that demonstrated the importance of air power and the indomitable spirit of the British people. The Battle of Stalingrad, fought from August 1942 to February 1943, was a turning point in World War II's Eastern Front. German forces, seeking to capture the strategically vital city of Stalingrad, faced fierce resistance from the Soviet Red Army. The battle devolved into a brutal house-to-house struggle, with both sides suffering appalling casualties. The German Sixth Army, trapped and surrounded by Soviet forces, was forced to surrender in February 1943. The Battle of Stalingrad marked the limit of Germany's advance in the east and signaled the beginning of their long retreat. On June 6, 1944, Allied forces launched Operation Overlord, the largest amphibious invasion in history. Codenamed D-Day, the landings in Normandy, France, marked the beginning of the liberation of Western Europe from Nazi occupation. Thousands of ships and aircraft participated in the operation, ferrying troops and equipment across the English Channel. Despite heavy resistance from German defenders, Allied forces secured a foothold on the beaches of Normandy. The D-Day landings marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany and demonstrated the growing strength of the Allied war effort. Section 5. Island Hopping and the Rising Sun. The Battle of Midway. The Battle of Midway, fought in June 1942, was a decisive naval battle in the Pacific theater of World War II. The United States Navy, aided by code-breaking intelligence, dealt a crushing blow to the Imperial Japanese Navy. American dive bombers sank 4 Japanese aircraft carriers, crippling Japan's offensive capabilities. The Battle of Midway marked a turning point in the Pacific War, shifting the balance of naval power in favor of the United States. It halted Japan's westward expansion and paved the way for the Allied counteroffensive. Section 6, From Beaches to Bunkers, the Allied Advance in Europe. Following the D-Day landings, Allied forces fought their way across France and into Germany, liberating Paris and other major cities from Nazi control. The Battle of the Bulge, Germany's last major offensive in the West, was a desperate attempt to stem the Allied advance, but ultimately failed. As Allied armies closed in on Germany from both east and west, the Nazi regime began to crumble. Cities lay in ruins, and the once mighty Wehrmacht was a shadow of its former self. Section 7. The Fall of the Third Reich, the Battle of Berlin. The Battle of Berlin, fought in the final weeks of the war in Europe, was a brutal and chaotic affair. Soviet forces, seeking revenge for the devastation inflicted upon their homeland, encircled and assaulted the German capital. Hitler, holed up in his underground bunker, refused to surrender even as his regime crumbled around him. On April 30th, 1945, Hitler committed suicide in his bunker as Soviet forces closed in. The Battle of Berlin marked the end of the Third Reich and the conclusion of World War II in Europe. Section 8. The Pacific Theater's climactic conclusion. In the Pacific, the war raged on. American forces engaged in a brutal island-hopping campaign fought their way towards the Japanese home islands. Battles like Iwo Jima and Okinawa were characterized by fierce Japanese resistance and heavy casualties on both sides. The Battle of Okinawa, in particular, foreshadowed the potential horrors of an invasion of mainland Japan. Both sides suffered heavy losses, and the civilian population was caught in the crossfire. The battle highlighted the fanatical determination of the Japanese defenders and the challenges facing an Allied invasion. Section 9. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Faced with the prospect of a costly invasion of Japan and determined to end the war quickly, the United States made the fateful decision to use atomic bombs. On August 6, 1945, an American B-29 bomber dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, instantly killing tens of thousands of people and devastating the city. 3 days later, a second atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki, causing further death and destruction. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki remain the only use of nuclear weapons in warfare and continue to spark debate and controversy to this day. Section 10. The Legacy of World War II. A world reshaped. World War II had a profound and lasting impact on the world. The conflict resulted in an estimated 40 to 85 million fatalities, leaving countless others wounded, displaced, and traumatized. The war also led to significant geopolitical shifts, as the United States and the Soviet Union emerged as superpowers, ushering in the Cold War era. The horrors of World War II also led to the creation of the United Nations, an international organization dedicated to preventing future conflicts and promoting global cooperation. The war's legacy continues to shape international relations, military strategy, and technological advancements to this day. Section 11 Sphere. Conclusion, Lessons from the Brink. World War II stands as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of unchecked aggression, intolerance, and the failure of diplomacy. The war, which engulfed nations and continents, left an indelible mark on the world, reshaping borders, economies, and societies. The sheer scale of destruction and loss of life was unprecedented, and the scars it left behind are still visible today. The lessons learned from this global conflict continue to resonate today, emphasizing the importance of international cooperation, diplomacy, and the pursuit of peace. The establishment of the United Nations was a direct response to the horrors of the war, aiming to foster dialogue and prevent future conflicts. The principles of collective security and mutual respect among nations were born out of the ashes of World War II. The sacrifices made by millions during World War II should never be forgotten. Soldiers, civilians, and resistance fighters all played crucial roles in the struggle for freedom and justice. Their stories of courage and endurance continue to inspire generations, reminding us of the cost of war and the value of peace. Their bravery and resilience serve as a timeless testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity in the face of unimaginable adversity. The war tested the limits of human endurance and showcased the best and worst of human nature. It is through remembering these stories that we can honor their legacy and ensure that such a tragedy never happens again. As we navigate the complexities of the 21st century, it is our duty to remember the past, learn from its mistakes, and strive to build a more peaceful and just world for all. The lessons from World War II are not just historical footnotes, they are guiding principles for our future. By fostering understanding, promoting tolerance, and working together, we can create a world where peace prevails and the horrors of war are a distant memory.